All right, so what you guys all just saw was the highlight reel from my powerlifting meet a couple of weeks ago, which was, I believe, August 10th. So those were the top lifts of the day. Some things went the way I hoped. Some things didn't quite go the way I wanted them to go. I want to explain how everything went to everybody who's interested in hearing, and just share my lessons learned and what I'll be working on next for next year, and kind of see how that kind of stuff goes. So as you guys saw, squats always go well for me. Basically, I think at this point I'm just going to accept that I might be a squat specialist. And then bench and deadlift were mediocre. So I'll get into the details on that in just a bit. So my season started off a little bit differently than expected. This year I was going to lean into strongman a lot harder until I got my hernia last November. I wound up with a double inguinal hernia last November. Could be all sorts of things that cause it. It's hard to say. At the time, I wasn't even training that heavy. It was actually fairly low risk. It is, I probably have a genetic predisposition to it because both my grandfathers actually had the same hernias. Unfortunately, I got mine, in 2023, when we have laparoscopic surgery, so it was far less invasive than and easier recovery than traditional surgery would have been. So I'm very grateful for that. After fighting with doctors and the medical system for a while, I wound up getting the surgery sometime in the first week of February. I don't remember the precise date right now. It went very smoothly. They said it would be a 2-hour surgery. It ended up taking just over an hour, actually. Everything went very well. Recovery went real well, too. Everything was on target. 6 weeks after the surgery, I was cleared to basically lift whatever I want and do whatever I want. And everything's been good to go since then. I've had no real issues. Sorry, a big bird just flew by. I've had no real issues with it or anything like that. Everything seems solid down there, so glad to have it done. When I was recovered from the surgery, during that time I trained as much as I could. I couldn't Valsalva, so I couldn't train anything heavy, so I focused on maintaining upper body mass as much as possible and lower body mass. Particularly the lower body had to focus on just pure isolation movement. So I did a lot of leg pressing. I got a leg press last year for my home gym, and boy, has it been a great investment. A lot of people put those things down. I have had nothing but good things to say about having one for myself, and I program them pretty regularly for clients. And honestly, if it was good enough for Ronnie Coleman, it's good enough for me, particularly for maintaining muscle mass. However, a gap that I couldn't really overcome was I couldn't Valsalva. I couldn't really do anything that would engage my trunk in any meaningful way, including my back. So essentially, my abdominals and my lower back atrophied, as you can imagine. So coming back, those were very unstable. There was no real strength left. I don't think that there was that much real muscle mass left or gone, but it definitely had an effect. And my first, squats and everything coming back everything I did was just very unstable. I had no stability. There's plenty of power in my legs, but I just had no real support. And so I had to come back pretty slowly as it pertains to the compound lower body movements. And even bench took a while because I couldn't arch, because I lost flexibility. A lot of scar tissue had to be broken apart, which feels weird when you're doing it because you get all these twinges right where you had surgery, and feels like you're tearing stuff up again. But it all went fine. It just felt really weird, especially the first month or so. Did a couple months of that, and that launched me into what ended up being a 16-week prep that I decided to do because powerlifting is easier for me than strongman in the sense that I'm probably more suited to it because of how late in life I got into the strength game, and I'm just better at it for, I think, a variety of reasons. So I decided to go down that route. I'm a submaster now, so there's a couple state records a few actually that I had in my sights that I decided to go for. Usually I would have come into a prep like this, for myself or any client, coming off of a higher volume phase that then tapered down. I didn't really have that capability because I didn't really have the ability to build volume tolerance in any meaningful manner. So I basically started low volume, fairly low volume. You know, it wasn't like just singles or anything like that. I didn't implement heavy singles until about a month out. But well, it depends on the lift actually. So we can get into that. However, I definitely did affect my general fitness ability and ability to keep fatigue at bay on the day. I would say that, you know, I had everything I needed for the squat, and there was a definite just decline in energy levels throughout the day. And part of this was also that I had to gain weight to get to the weight class I wanted, because the weight class that I normally walk around in, the records were out of my reach at this stage. I actually think next year it's possible I could take a swing at the squat record, which is in the low 700s, like 705, I think, for WRPF. I decided to go for it. I had to gain about 17 pounds, which is difficult for me. I'm about as big as my body's comfortable being. And so I did put on the weight, just lots of force feeding. I barely made weight. I actually had to drink a bunch of water to gain weight. So to do the opposite, I had to water load leading up to it. That was a challenge. Because of some goofiness with the scales, I missed weight the first time, drank some water, and then ended up gaining on paper, 10 pounds. I actually only drank about 5 pounds of water. So there's, I think, a bit of a discrepancy in the scales that were used. So I used a different scale at weigh-ins the second time around when I re-weighed in 45 minutes later. But no big deal. I just think that some people might have been given a little bit of a gift who were trying to make weight with the original scale that I think was coming in a bit on the light side, by maybe a couple percent or so. I think that was mostly because of the floor that they were using. It was a very soft floor, and I think it was keeping the numbers down. So I ate clean for the most part, but basically I ate as much as I could clean, and then I just threw sugar on top of it, sugar and fats and sweets. I have basically completely lost my desire for anything sweet at this point. So on the day, and by the way, just those of you that might be wondering about my recovery and what I did for to recover from my surgery, it was nothing crazy. I have a pretty standard healing protocol that I developed that has to change a little bit for the individual based on what they can do and manage and what's feasible. And some things aren't applicable to all injuries. But in this case, I kind of threw everything more or less at it, meaning that I threw healing peptides, BPC, TB, and GHKCU. And I also used a lot of red light therapy. I also used green light therapy for pain management. It was helpful. I took as little pain meds as I could. I did have to take the oxy they gave me the first couple days, but was able to come off of it pretty quickly and then get back to work. In my case, the first few days were extremely rough, and then after that, things got better pretty quickly. And one thing that was very useful was I moved. I never stopped moving, and I stayed on my diet this whole time, tried to get good sleep. I was moving. Well, actually, when I got home, you have to walk around in the hospital before they discharge you. I did that, but I came home, ate my first meal of the day, and pretty much immediately went out and went for a walk. It wasn't really much of a walk. It was more of a shuffle, and I couldn't go very far. And then I went and sat back down, and I actually went and walked again later that night. And every day I was walking about as much as I could stand it, as often as I could stand it. That was very instrumental in helping, and we also had some sunlight during part of that time, which I think was useful. And I had the red light therapy. The red light panel I have is about 100 watts, and I had it just right on my stomach, so it could heal the whole site. That red light infrared, for those of you who don't know, penetrates all the way down through the skin. So it has an effect that works even on deep wound healing and other things like that needed to heal inside, such as stitching and stuff like that in my case. On the day, everything went really well with squat. My goal, so the state record, the number that I had to beat was 575. I was not worried about that at all. I actually thought about chipping that in to save energy for the others. But to me, I felt most secure about getting a squat record, and I decided to push that one at least a little bit. My goal coming into this was to hit 660 because that would be 300 kilograms, so kind of a cool milestone. I wound up, my opener was 585, so it was already a state record. That went really fast as I figured it would. Next squat was around, I think it was 635, went really well, very easy, no issues there. And then it just went so fast. I had squatted 660 in training a few weeks before, and it went pretty smooth, but it was a little slow. So I knew I had more in me because I was very beat up at that point in training. So I went for 677, like 677.9 or something. I forget the kilograms, and got it. That was my third attempt. I got 2 whites and 1 red. The 1 red was the center judge because I didn't fully lock out my hips when I stood back up, so I got a red light for that. But any white lights after the first 2 was a waste anyway. So that went really well. It did fatigue me a lot, though. It wasn't a total grinder, but squats are just very costly for me fatigue-wise, and mentally it was very taxing. I didn't bounce back from that as much as I would have liked. I think my general fitness being not as good from the weight gain and not coming into it as fit because of surgery circumstances definitely had an impact there. When it came time to bench, my opener was 385, which was my heaviest bench in competition that I'd ever done in the past, which was last year. I hit that fairly smoothly, fairly easily, so I was confident to at least hit like low 400s, so I called for 407. I had benched 405 for a smooth single, I think just a couple weeks before, and I was very confident in it. I was having trouble with it was a Ghost combo rack they were using, and at this point I'm not a fan. I'm not going to blame everything on that. I think that's dumb and petty, but it was definitely giving me some trouble. The pad was it was sticky, which was nice, so I had good traction, but it was just not, it was very squishy, so I couldn't lock in and feel stable. I felt like I was rocking all the time, and it was flexing and moving under me. And so I couldn't keep my shoulders pinned back right. It felt like it was very hard to lock in and get what I needed out of the bench. And while I was fighting that, when I came down on my second attempt at 407, I touched way low on one side, which I've never done, but on my right side I was very low, and so the bar was crooked, and that one failed pretty fast out of the gate. I didn't try to grind against it too hard, but I did basically fatigue my right tricep pretty significantly on that attempt. I just called for the same weight on my third, and it looked pretty good. I threw it off the chest really well. I touched right, everything was right, but I just didn't get it. I got it up like 6 inches off the chest, and just sat there for a second before they had to take it from me. So that was, I think, a combination of fatigue and just fighting the bench a little bit, and misgrooving my second attempt, which really it was really my right tricep. It just wasn't ready for the handoff from the pec to the tricep. And at that point I was feeling pretty fatigued. And one thing that was a big factor too was the warm-up area in this gym. It was a great gym. Dungeon Strength RX is one of the coolest gyms, honestly, in the Pacific Northwest. My sort of neck of the woods in the Pacific Northwest. I can't speak for all of them, but it's a cool gym. However, for our purposes on that day, it was very hot outside, very humid, not crazy hot, but very humid. And the warm-up area did not have air conditioning. There was an overhead door that was open that allowed a breeze to come through. I mean, breeze, more like fresh air. So it was just really hot, really sticky back there. And that was fatiguing. I'm just not that used to that, honestly. I think my general fitness held me back just a little bit. That would have helped to overcome it. I stayed adequately hydrated. That wasn't a problem. I actually had less issue than normal getting carbs in. My stomach was good. I've struggled with that in the past, and that was not a problem this time. It was cool. I've done enough powerlifting meets, I guess, now that when I went to do this one, there was some nerves, but it was very, very little, and so I wasn't struggling with my stomach so much. So what I did was I was able to just get all the carbs and food that I felt like I needed. It was probably more would have been better, but I don't think that held me back here, so I wouldn't blame that at all. And then, we had some time to rest and recover, get some more carbs in, and it was time to start warming up on deadlifts. My warm-ups were pretty minimal just to conserve fatigue, and at that point, you're warm already. And so I didn't do a whole lot there. I opened with 585. It flew, no problem, very easy. I then pulled 617 to match my my top deadlift in competition last year. I kind of wish I would have gone for just a little bit more, but my ultimate goal is to pull 637, because with the bench press not being what I wanted, I would have had a 1,700 pound total, and 637 would have done that. And so that was going to be my third attempt, and it also would have just chipped 5 pounds over the state record. So I would have had a deadlift record, squat record, and a total record too, because the total record was in the 1,500s. So I was confident that would fall either way. I kind of rushed the setup on my third attempt. I think I was excited. It's totally not really like me, but anyway, I didn't set the bar actually in my left hand all the way. It was kind of a little bit out, and I'm very sensitive to that being a problem because I have small hands and I've always struggled with grip. I didn't have any trouble in training. I was able to pull that in training, like 635, I think, in training, and grip was not an issue whatsoever. But combination of fatigue, not setting the bar correctly in my hand, I got to the top, I locked out pretty well, but the bar was falling, and so I didn't get that down command because you could just see my hand was just opening up, and so I had to drop it before the down command, or put it down. I didn't let it just drop. But it wasn't going to happen. And the judges were very, very strict that day. It's actually probably the most strict judged powerlifting meet I've ever been part of. However, they were very consistent in how they applied everything. And that deadlift, in my opinion, should not have got white lights. I have been in powerlifting meets where deadlifts like that were given white lights, and I would have disagreed. And so my deadlift was not worthy of 3 white lights. And so they totally made the right call. I did not deserve a down command, and actually thanked the refs for after the show for just upholding the integrity of the sport, because we need that. And so I appreciated that as much as I wanted that 1,700 pound total. So what I walked away with, I registered in the 140 open, the under 140 open, which is or 308 pounds open class, and masters, submasters, 35 through 40. And I was the only one in the submasters in that weight class. So yay me, gold medal. But there was a few other guys in the 308 open, and I took first place by dots there, so I got a gold medal for that. And I also wound up with the state squat record and the state total record as well for that class. So I'm hoping the squat record will stay for a while. Who knows about the total, but 677 should be a little tough to beat, hopefully. But there's plenty of strong guys out there that could take it if they wanted to. So I'm happy with that. I wanted the deadlift too, but that's okay, especially given the circumstances. Life was also very stressful during this time. I had a lot of trouble sleeping, and as I was trying to wrap things up with just work and businesses and other things that were going on in my life, so we could go on vacation immediately following the powerlifting meet, I basically I think it's just overtraining, and I just didn't sleep the week of the meet. I averaged about 3 hours of sleep a night, every night for that week leading up. And I'd been struggling for weeks with sleep anyway, and it really cascaded into this burnout, at the very end. So that also obviously didn't help my performance on the day. If I'd probably gotten sleep, that might have been enough to overcome the issues that I faced as well. It's tough to say. Since then, I've gone back to eating normal, a more normal diet for me. I already weigh 269, so I've dropped 10 pounds since weigh-ins, which is great. I feel better. My stomach's gone back down. I'm not bloated, and I've lost all a lot of the water I was holding everywhere. So that's nice. I'm going into my off season now. I'm kind of just easing into things. I trained a couple times this week, pretty light. Next week will be a little more volume, but still pretty light. And this off season, I'll be working on triceps and pecs for the bench, and just some deadlift type stuff. A lot of deadlift variants. I don't do comp deadlift year round, so I'll be doing a lot of RDLs and other things to just grow hamstrings and grip, because I always need grip strength. I do probably plan to compete at the Ugly Sweater Classic in Oregon in December. I'm already registered for that in the 265 class. I'll weigh whatever I weigh. I'm not going to worry about weight. I'll make sure I'm below weight. Plan is to actually probably get to the 250s, and I'll be a little underweight for that weight class, but that's fine. I'm not concerned about it. I'm not going there to be a contender. I don't have anything in particular in mind. I just want to go there and have fun and do my best. I'm not going to prep for it in a dedicated manner. Honestly, I'll be focused on work on these other things and just putting in my weaker strongman events for skill building and conditioning, probably once a week or so here and there. But I don't train all the events, probably even leading up to, except for maybe the week or two before. And next week will be focused, or next year will be focused probably more on powerlifting when I have a window of time that just my personal and business life allows for that sort of thing. I'm thinking about maybe competing as a 242 again. I haven't done that in a while. It's a pretty ideal weight class for me. I would be pretty ripped if I walk around at 250. I mean, not ripped, but I'd have pretty good abs again and things like that. I've gained a lot of muscles since the last time I was down to that weight. So I think it would be a really lean version of me. I'd be very fit, be easier to be comfortable at that weight. And there's the records and the Submasters especially look right within reach for me. Bench I struggle with, but it's possible I could take that. But deadlift and squat I think could be mine in total. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So I'll be looking for maybe fall next year, summer next year, if my personal life allows and it makes sense, because that definitely was tough balancing everything this summer. Some things were busier than I thought they would be, and definitely made it more difficult. So we'll see how that goes. On the coaching front, business has been great. This has been a really good year. I have doubled how many people I'm working with since last winter. And I've got meetings with a few more even next week that are interested. So there's inquiries coming in, and that's really good. Made a lot of pushes on social media to provide as much valuable as possible. And I've been able to help more and more people, which is what I want to do. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been very rewarding. I've really enjoyed seeing my clients' progress. And I'm finding that, I'm at a stage where I am getting kind of more reward personally out of helping others than my own athletic endeavors. And so I'm definitely going to continue focusing on that, just partly because I just enjoy it so much. And it's been something that's been fun to grow and learn more and more about as I gain more experience and just consume more knowledge on the topic. So for those of you that might be interested in that kind of thing, let me know, if I can be of service to you, of course. Other than that, I think that's pretty much everything anybody would find pertinent. There's really, I will say that a big takeaway from this was you can come back from these major surgeries and stuff if you put in the effort and consistency. This is the most major surgery I've ever had, and I bounced back really well. I'm very happy with how that went, and I'm proud of my work, to be honest. A lot of people have surgeries like this, and it's like it takes them years to recover, or maybe they never fully recover because some things don't come back. You can, even if you're middle-aged or older, a lot more can come back when the effort and timing when the effort is applied at the right times and at the right level. It can be done, and you really can thrive probably more than you think with consistency and the right level of effort and applied, the right way. So I think that another thing that I took away was just the importance of general fitness. When doing this kind of thing, even in strength sport like powerlifting. It used to be a joke that powerlifters were just always out of shape and things like that. This is probably about the most out of shape from a fitness point of view I've ever been. That was a compromise I made because I didn't have the time to do. I've been working long hours and a lot of other things have been going on. So that was a thing that I sacrificed knowingly. And I'm still coming back from that. And it did hurt my performance on the platform. I knew it would be a risk. I didn't go into it ignorantly. But there you have it. I would also say don't neglect your conditioning if you can avoid it, because it will help your quality of life. It will help you live longer, and it will ultimately help you perform better in the long term. Sometimes you make sacrifices like I did, and you do so, you want to do so in an informed and careful manner. That's reasonable. I totally get it. But as much as you can, protect your general fitness and your conditioning, and of course your muscle mass, because those are what keep you alive, keep your quality of life high. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my discussion. And thanks for watching. Thanks for following along. And thanks for being part of the journey, especially those of you that I've talked with a lot and just had the pleasure of interacting with. So I'll see you guys all later, and catch you on another post.